Hello and welcome to this edition of Hermit's Rewind. Today we're watching the 2019 Rugby 15s final between our rugby team at St. Augustine and the Delbarton Green Wave. Today we have some seniors and players from last year's team and Coach Brendan Tao. So we will get underway.
Nice. You can see coming into this game, we have a bit of nerves, and you can see that right here on the opening kickoff, which we turn right over.
Nice take by the Delbarton Green Wave, number 9.
Yeah, I definitely think the problem coming into this game was we beat Delbarton by like 30, probably the first game we played them. So I think we were a little too comfortable, especially the few weeks of practice we had coming into it. So I think starting out, we were definitely lackadaisical.
And one thing I will say, the score of the first game was 31-3, but I think most people can tell you that entire game felt like a one-score lead the entire way through. Even we had 5 minutes left and we just had to run the clock out. It still felt super tight. You were nervous the entire time playing, and I think they just came with they came with a lot of intensity at us. We weren't ready for it because we were lackadaisical.
No, they came right out. They came right out and smacked us right in the mouth. And I think what saves us, for the most part, is when it came to set pieces, we still had a superior front row for sure. A lot of credit to Coach Conover, who's the master of the dark arts of scrummages and lineouts. But I think winning those set pieces makes a difference. But Delbarton all day capitalized on every mistake that we made, and that was a credit to them. They didn't give you guys an inch all day.
Yeah, I know personally this was my worst first half of the year.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything, but since you said it, that's fine.
I think it was for a lot of people, except for probably Giovanni. No one really played that well to start the game, at least.
Yeah,
you see
I think we could have maybe plugged Gersick in at 9.
You see a lot of jitters here. Mario certainly at fullback had a rough first half, but he rallied, and that's the key. Is nobody really lost composure. We stuck it in. Coming into the game, too, don't forget we had some serious injuries. We had lost 3 starters. 2 completely were gone. Dom Gito, as a center, and then Kyle Jenny in the front row. We were lucky, we had lost Homan, but he was back for this game coming in off the sideline in the second half. So the credit to these guys who were jumping in there, like Justin Miranda, he filled in no problem because Justin at the beginning of the season was also starting, so he was used to that. And then Schwab, really filled in real nice, and so did Bumpernick.
Yeah, you gotta love getting the text a week before the finals from Sal waking up to, should I go to the hospital, and seeing a 2-inch gash in his right arm or wrist.
Yeah.
So that was another.
Yeah, it was a lot of. I'm telling you, it was a lot of emotion for us coming into this. I think Delbarton came in cool, calm, and collected, and they executed early. You see Danny here, right? Danny, you were put into. This isn't where you started.
Nah.
This season.
Nah, I started at 15, and then a few injuries put me there, and then I just stayed there for the rest of the year. So.
Yeah, and you ran the attack. Really.
Yeah.
The only 2 letters of the alphabet Danny knew by the end of the year was A and B.
Yeah.
All you needed to know. Sal with some great runs here. That's a great run. Nice offload from Mario. Our rucks were pretty good. We were getting there. I think we're a little flat. If you take a look at some of these pods, we're taking this ball flat-footed, not really getting anywhere.
Yeah.
And then we're turning the ball over. You just can't do it.
Yeah, just in the beginning of this game, we made too many mistakes, and then as the game went on, we got better. But There's just jitters, I guess.
to the green wave.
I'll tell you, these scrums got really old really fast because I remember specifically this day was extremely hot. Especially
It was
in
so
that
hot.
turf.
especially on the turf.
It was just brutal.
I want to say the first time we played them, we kind of threw their front row around and we threw their entire scrum around. But this time they had a solid platform for most of their attacks. It made it a lot more difficult for us on defense. I'll say that.
Yeah, they made adjustments for sure. But don't think the jitters didn't get to them too. You could see it here and there. This is a classic example too. Mario just misreading that ball, and what would have been a line out for us ends up being a line out for them deep, within our 22 here. And this is what precipitates in a few minutes here their first score.
Yeah, I have this written down because this was a play. This lineout was a play design that Coach Conover came up with to beat Del Barton last season. They used it straight against us, and they beat us with it. Everybody came in on the ball, and everybody bit.
Yeah, and that's a sign of some good coaching too. I've been coaching, with Coach Linfante for a long time, and he's a student of the game. He's going to watch that tape, and they run it against us, and they punch it in right there on the side for first try of the game. 5-0.
If you look at the ruck before that try happened, I think that we had way too many guys too close to the ruck. We should have spread out the line a lot more. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, speaking for myself, I was right next to the ruck, and I shouldn't be there. I should be more out wide. So.
And even forward, we had almost our entire pack was just standing right next to the ruck. And that's good in occasion, but I don't think there should have been that many guys there. We should have been spreading that.
The 4-on-2 was our prop with our hooker out there against their wingers. It wasn't really a fair chance for our defense.
I guess it's also important to note coming into this year, if you look at the roster, this whole roster really only has less than a year A-side experience, like full-time. Like compared to last year, like besides for maybe Homan and Danny, like maybe Greg, this whole roster really didn't start many games last year. So this whole season was kind of like us coming together.
Yeah, a lot of people forget that Sal had been hurt for a good portion of that season 2 before, and I know he was looking to make a difference in this game. Charlie Chango too, he was in last year's state final, but he was late. He was a late addition, so he had a full year this year to get ready.
Yeah, Junta coming off with torn ACL.
Junta as well, yeah, that's right. And then Sabelli, playing scrum half, took the majority of abuse from the coaching staff most of the year. We had Coach Sean come in from Australia as well for a little while, and Giovanni, to his credit, he took a lot of heat throughout the year, and this was his best game. I mean, he was just phenomenal on both sides of the ball. So I remember coming up to him after the game and just thanking him for sticking with it and realizing that all of that heat that he was getting was for this.
I think we might be gassing up Sabelli a little too much. I think Kursick would have handled this a lot better.
I don't know. We'll never know now. Yeah, a couple guys here, ruck gazing a little bit.
It's a good defense, though. Tackling back behind the ruck.
Yeah, they're certainly Del Barton are known to be hard hitters.
How many years in a row did you guys face him in the final? What number was this?
Just 5. 5 in a row. First 2 were losses, and then this was the 3rd straight win. And this was by far the toughest game and the closest margin of the wins that we had.
this game to this day is still the most tired I've ever been in a rugby match in my life. So, really physical.
I was tired. I wasn't even on the field.
Yeah.
Whiteman with a nice little take here and a look. Looking for those offloads is key. If we don't have to go to ground so much, that would be even better.
I want to say this was our first time ever being down in the game in a regular season game this year. I know being on the sideline, some kids were worried that some might become flustered just due to the fact that we won most games by a wide margin.
We did. You see
Donnie yakking right there.
You do see that. Yeah, it's a day for the big men. But listen, that call right there from the ref, who I thought the ref was fair enough. We've been pretty lucky, I think, in the state finals to have referees who have been pretty on the ball. But that's a call for side entry. A lot of offsides and side entry calls for both teams that day. And I think that's a testament to the nerves, right? You're jumping the line, you're anxious, and you're getting caught off sides. You're coming in off the side. And you can see Greg opted for the scrum down here because of our superior set piece. Right, so you always have that option off the penalty if you want to. We took that. Sal, nice take. But the ball comes loose.
Right there.
Ball comes loose, right? They're still pinned deep. I was expecting them to kick sooner than this to get it out of danger.
They're 10 lows to kick.
Yeah.
He had a great push.
Right, he's very good at it, too.
There's one point in this game where he kicked it like 70 yards. So.
Yeah, he's got a boot. Was he a senior this year or the next year?
He was a sophomore this year when we played him.
Okay, so he's got some time. His brother played, did he not?
Yeah, his brother was the 10 the year
before. He was Rapunzel.
Yes, well, they've got a family history with Del Barton. Another set piece.
It's not as soft as
you guys are just pushing them all over the park. Here's the boot. And again, Mario misjudges this ball here.
Yeah.
Just wasn't catching the breaks, man. When that pill ball bounces around, it's harder than a football to judge where it's going to go. Line out here.
That's straight.
Questionable.
Yeah.
Bumper Nick stepping up wearing number 17 after Dom Cheeto had gone down in the semifinals against CBA. And he was getting a lot of time, but he hadn't played his whole game at center. And he and Sal, being wrestlers, I've said it for a long time, wrestlers make the best rugby players. So quite a few wrestlers.
So maybe hockey players.
Hockey players are all right too, Whiteman. You're okay. But, Danny will tell you that the learning curve for a wrestler coming to rugby is almost non-existent. It's pretty easy. What is it, Danny? Double leg takedown?
Yeah, so tackling's pretty much a double leg takedown, which is the first move you learn in wrestling, which I've been doing since I was 6 years old.
Right. So even though guys think, I don't know rugby, we'll teach it to you. It won't take long.
Nah.
In case you're wondering, for all the wrestling players out there, this is your sales pitch.
Yeah. This is a little mall here that we've got going, so we're driving this as long as we can.
Probably 1,000 penalties could have been called right there, but
hey, let it go. Let them play.
I did not understand this call. I don't know why he said I wasn't releasing. The ruck already formed, and I don't know. He had his hands on the ball, so I think that should have went to us, but.
It did not, but we turned it back over. They turned it back over here. Whiteman gets it, offloads.
Yeah, I don't really know what I did right there, honestly.
Okay, bud, you did it. And you can see here too, like we're so concentrated inside too, and we're not playing as expansive rugby as we could have been. Once we start doing that and we get the jitters down, we start moving the ball from sideline to sideline and stretch them out defensively. you start to find the gaps.
Right there, that should have been a penalty. I see. Side entry, and his shoulders are straight on the ground. But it's just there were missed calls either way in the game, both sides.
Yeah, and so we sometimes forget too that high stakes games like this can be a little nerve wracking for the referees as well.
This may have not been like our best team like physically, but for the past few years on Hermit's Rugby, this was definitely our best team like structure wise. Maybe that right now we're kind of all over the place.
You can hear Greg calling for inside ball there. Andrew didn't have time. Looked outside. It's all right. Still moving it. There's Joe Kolonich. Pass a little behind Charlie. But. So it's those things, those little mistakes that can cost you. Just getting everybody. You can see here on the sideline, Coach Howells and myself talking to Charlie in particular, getting them to calm down. Calm down.
You can see from the beginning of the game till now how we're changing our lineouts, because the first few in the beginning, I was standing not behind here, but I was standing in between that 5-meter lane. And now I remember we were working on right before the ball gets thrown in, I would step out and Whiteman would jump in and try to go up for it. I remember working.
Yeah, I remember talking to the kid from Del Barton after his championship game when we were doing the New Jersey side. And he said our defensive lineouts is what ruined their game plan this game. Or our defensive lineouts, because they weren't expecting the 2-pod and 1 jumper. So all their line-out plays they had to scratch it because they didn't want to risk it.
And you can see, too, as the game progressed, too, Greg, I think you call off a couple times. You opt for some other scrums because we could have kicked for touch, but the wind became a factor, if I remember, too.
Yeah, I remember this game, I wasn't throwing my best lineouts, and the wind was a factor, and especially a lot of that decision came to our position on the field. Like the first time I called for the scrum instead of the penalty, we were like near the 15. One, I wanted to just put all those forwards together and just kind of have it backs against backs, just take people to play. So that was a lot of the thinking there.
Who almost got his head taken off here? Was that Charlie?
Paul got tackled right here, and he was tackled like clothesline. We were thinking football, straight around the neck. The dangerous playing rugby, and anything above this, anything high clothesline like that, it's an automatic yellow card. It could be escalated to a red depending on the ref's decision. He decided for a yellow card right here. That's 10 minutes in the bin, and we're up a player right now.
And that's a significant advantage because most people will know, if you're watching this, high school rugby, youth rugby is limited to 2 35-minute halves. But in the state finals, they actually are 2 30-minute halves. Now, the reason for that is, should there be overtime, we would like to be able to play for it as opposed to going right to kicks. So the maximum time that a youth rugby player can play are 2 35-minute halves. So if it goes to overtime, you're done for it. So in the state finals, they shorten each half by 5 minutes, giving you a 10-minute overtime should you need it. And we almost needed it, today because the game was pretty close, but luckily we didn't. But that's something people might wonder, wow, that was a quick half for rugby. They are a little shorter because of that sort of caveat.
It's going to be a line out to the green wave. His nose is improving.
Could you guys hear the commentator in the booth?
Really can't hear.
I can only hear Chenga's dad or Herman's dad screaming at us to wake up.
Yeah. The Hermit's parents were probably louder than the commentator, but the commentator was just butchering your names.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't mean to. He's a friend of mine, actually. But, you got some of you have these Italian last names, Greg. And it was, in the moment, you're not listening to anything. But when I went back to watch this again, I said, oh, man, I have to give him the phonetic spelling next time.
He's got to take a page out of Willie's book and just go up to the coach pregame.
He does. That's
Although
true.
I guess he's got like 4 games in a row, so he probably can't do that.
Yeah, he had the girls and the boys. He had the single school and the club, so he was probably swamped. He's a good man. He's a CBA parent and a good friend of mine.
Yeah, they're definitely all my 8-man picks this game after the last game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah.
20, 30 yards off 8-man picks this time. Their flankers had their heads up.
Well, that's when you get to be good rivals with one another. You get to know each other so well, and yeah, they were marking you, Andrew, for sure. Just kicking ball away there made no sense to me, but happy to take it.
Yeah,
out of their own ends, but it was not a great kick.
No.
Giovanni fixing goes here, I think.
Yeah, it's not this one here, but it's coming up. It's absolutely right. And that wasn't called. I think he just saw a gap and just took it here.
Yeah.
Johnny sets it up here with another pod, sucking in some defenders. And then
it wasn't really big, too. It wasn't a big gap at all.
He sneaks right in there. Centers it for the try.
Below average try from me.
I don't remember. Did Del Barton make their kick or no?
No,
I don't think they did.
They missed it.
5-5 right now.
It's 5-5. We're about to go up at 7-5 with Mario is going to make this conversion.
This was an important try because I think before our first score we were kind of like freaking out because we had the ball in their end so much, but like we weren't converting anything. So like this first try, like it was off a broken play, kind of like it wasn't anything set. It was kind of what we needed to like calm down.
Sometimes that is the best, you know.
I wish it was somebody else besides Sabelli, but you got to take what you can get.
Sabelli doing well, playing up at Fordham now. But that's the thing too. Like while Mario's getting his kick ready, I think it's probably worth mentioning to the people who are watching. When you're watching this game, you're seeing a significant number. I think there were 14 seniors on this 23-man side for the day, and almost every one of them is playing in college to this day. I mean, Miranda's wearing number 1. He's at Villanova. Greg's on the call with us here wearing number 2. He's at Tennessee. Joe Kolonich is wearing number 4. He's playing football at Ursinus. Schwab is wearing number 5. He played for a while at Newman. Lawson's wearing 7. He plays at Alabama. Sabelli, who you're making fun of, wearing 9, is playing at Fordham. Danny's on the call, wearing 10, playing at St. Joe's. Sal Manera, wearing number 13, is playing at Kutztown. Junta, wearing 11, is at Sacred Heart. Mario at 15s at St. Joe's. And then coming off the bench, you know, we had Connor, who's on the call, who's at St. Joe's. Tyler Edson, who's at Tennessee. And then Pat Dock and Jimmy Oliva are both playing at Mount St. Mary's. It's an incredible senior crop of players. Absolutely tremendous. And that's just the guys who were on this roster. Some guys got hurt.
I think a lot of these seniors had motivation because even though we've won 2 straight before this, I don't think like even though we won, they weren't really a part.
A lot of them were on the second side.
So like this was kind of like our championship game. Like it was like special to us because it would, even though it would have not been the program's first, it would have been like our first we contributed to.
Sure.
This one was a lot more important to me too because I feel like I had a bigger role in it than the year before.
Because it's easy to sit on the sideline and just grab a ring, but like when you're actually playing in the game, it's like a different feeling.
Yeah, going off Danny, we both started that last championship, but I felt more of a role player, a guy who just had to do the stuff that nobody else really was doing. I feel like Danny had the same feeling. But this one, you just felt like we had to take control of the game, which felt different for us than last time around.
Yeah, I got in for 10 minutes and screwed up a line out, and had Husher screaming at me for the rest of the game. So it's all.
Yeah, we should watch that game next. But yeah, you see Danny here taking the line out. I mean, there were some opportunities where we probably could have like done a quick tap, but against a team like Del Barton that normally gets set pretty quick on defense, there's really no point.
Yeah, I think this ball I threw way too low, and they just picked this one.
Again, you can see that touch judge's flag too is flapping in the wind. This is a little preview of things to come with a classic Whiteman poach here.
I could have had about 5 this game, but he was not being generous with the poaches.
He wasn't, and I'll tell you, this one got taken to the house.
Was that off the
Bad pass.
Yeah. Sal was a miss pass. He was passing to his left, and that ball just it hung in the air. Yep.
Don't lay on glass tables. That's the lesson learned.
No, and then listen, that's what happens. You know, just a pass that got stuck in the air, and they took advantage, and they did it all game.
At this point, I don't think any of the guys were really putting our heads down. If anything, that really just made us more angry, and that just made us more determined to get another one. Because after this, you can clearly see a momentum change.
Yeah, I mean, up to this point, I was getting a little frustrated just because people weren't listening to me as much as in previous games. They were kind of doing their own thing. They weren't getting set as fast. And just a halftime talk from Coach Conover really turned it around, I think.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of pent-up anger between players, I think. And then Conover kind of put us in our place. Don't want to repeat what he said, but...
No, we'll leave that for the huddle.
On this one, we opt for a tap and go. Just we weren't getting anything out of set pieces.
Yeah, I don't want to trust a belly kicking for 3 points.
Especially here, I think I was calling ice or A, and this goal line stand right here that they had, and we just weren't doing what I was calling. And that's what really frustrated me. But,
yeah, especially when we probably had a bunch of room outside.
Yeah,
you can clearly see we do. We don't take advantage of it.
I'm just going off of how much they had in the ruck.
One thing after looking at this a few times is the body position. When we're that close to the try line, we're taking the ball on the pick and goes, and we're standing straight up. And you got a guy like Miranda who's got bigger size than any guys on their team. If he lowers his shoulder, he's taking that ball another 3-4 yards just by body position. I mean, he could have gotten over that try line if he just got lower.
Yeah, I definitely feel like we could have picked and go a lot more, but correctly.
Yeah, I feel like that's also the difference between we're playing in college now, and you get taught body positioning going into contact and how you're supposed to do it when you're in certain positions, if you're on the goal line or something. Just stuff that you don't really go over in high school. Because strength, if you have just pure strength, it wins a lot of it.
The problem is when you're right there, like, and you're seeing like just the goal line, you just get selfish as a player, I guess. It's like your first instinct just to grab the ball and go. So I think that was definitely an issue right there.
You see there, he kicks out of bounds. Time had expired. The clock had expired, but the game still goes on unless there's some sort of dead ball. So even though the buzzer might go off, the clock might read 0, you got to make sure that you're working with the referee on the field to make sure he's got the right time. He lets you know last play or something like that. And Del Barton was smart there. They weren't going to fight us. They're just kicking that ball out of bounds. They knew time was up, and they got into the half ahead of us.
Unless it's the ref for the St. Peter football game. He doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, you're right. A half an hour does seem real quick. That half seemed to go by real fast.
Very fast, yes. And the halftime, which got cut out here from the video, of course, the boys are talking about the opportunity for Coach Conover and Coach Howells, myself, to talk to them. But, Coach Conover doesn't have a big reputation for being a big talker. He really is on game day, probably of all of us, much more quiet, stoic. He takes notes in his book. And when he speaks on a game day, it's with good reason, because he normally is pretty quiet. But at that half, he took over in that huddle. And I think the boys are absolutely right that he got their minds right, and that we shut them out this whole second half. They don't score again.
I think he may have copied and pasted a Joe Lombardi quote and just put it in his notes.
No disrespect to Lombardi. Conover might have done it better.
It's going to be a penalty for the Green Waves.
Did we make a substitution here at the half for Ensign?
Yeah,
I'm not sure what the big fellas did. I know we put Georgia in the
Not yet.
Muffin Man. Not yet. I don't know when the Muffin Man comes in.
I know we started Nick. I think we made this other half.
What are the substitution rules in rugby again? Are you allowed to like come in and off multiple times, or is it like one and done like professional soccer?
Yeah, so once you come in the game, or once you get taken out of the game, you can't go back in. And in high school, is it 8?
It's 8.
Okay.
It's 8. It's 8 substitutions, and you can break them up between forwards and backs however you see fit. As a backs coach, you know, I understand the forwards normally need probably one more. So instead of it being a 4-and-4 split, it's normally a 5-and-3 split between forwards and backs as far as subs. You can come back in if you get taken out for a blood substitution. You have a certain amount of time to get yourself cleaned up and back out there. But yeah, Greg's right. I mean, for the most part, if you're making a substitution, you're done for the day. And I do see Junta still out there, so I think we kept him out there for a little bit. And then Tyler Ensign's going to go in on that other wing. And then I think the other changes that get made are all in pack.
2 front row subs. I think that was my.
Wait, did Homan come in?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, they do. They do a real nice maneuver here. When you've got a front row that's got interchangeable parts, you are lethal. So you're going to see that here when they do make a substitution. We start to move around. Greg will go from hooking to prop. Now this 22 drop was an absolute disgrace. I hate to say we had gone over this at length in practices, and it's something that doesn't maybe occur as often in rugby, but when it does occur, it can be a game changer. And for whatever reason, we just couldn't get it right. Even in practices, we thought we were getting it right.
The problem is people think when they're kicking the drop 22, they have to be right on the 22. So they just stick their biggest guys right there and just kick into a wall.
But look at your scrum. Look at you move them around the park here again. You're coming into this half with much more confidence. Some good tackling here. Defensive shape is still a little slow to get formed here. Good tackle.
Our line speed's a lot better too. We're coming up faster.
Guys are talking again. Guys are feeling it, right? And we get a penalty here for another. We'll take that.
That was Miranda right there, right over the ball.
Miles with Ms. B. Hashtag join the movement.
That was a generous spot.
Yeah.
I really would pay.
I didn't kick for touch until the semifinal against CBA when Mario suddenly couldn't find the sideline. So.
It's interesting to me. Kickers are funny. You got guys who can just kick off a tee, guys who can just kick, punt. You got guys who can just drop kick. It's like, can't you do it all? And we haven't been that lucky.
We need to on the ground right here.
Yeah, I would definitely love to hear the audio clip from Mr. Homan this game. He loves to bleep out the whole thing.
Now you can start to see they're taking the ball flat. They're really not moving forward as like they were. They're taking the ball sort of off the back foot instead of the front foot.
I think this is when we run OU. We get a nice game here. Yeah.
Yeah, this one is good rugby. This is good open field rugby right here.
Still couldn't tell you what an OU is.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. It's a secret.
I think that was like my first jump of the game because Lawson, I don't think he felt like lifting that much early on.
That's a great run. It's a nice offload, and another one to Charlie. Really good work there with the back line.
Good job getting to the rock.
Absolutely.
This where Lawson scores?
He's going to, yeah. And this is something that, like, I didn't understand this when I was a younger coach. I guess I just thought that, maintaining the ball is all that matters. And it is. Of course, it matters. But it doesn't apply any pressure. Just because we maintain ball possession doesn't necessarily mean we're pressuring them.
Oh, is that my try that got called off?
Yeah,
This was your double move, Whiteman.
First
double move. Went to get a rewind on that.
Whiteman did the same thing.
I was yelling at the ref here.
Yeah, because didn't the guy on Del Barton do a double move the first time?
I remember talking to the ref about this because the first try he awarded for them, it was almost the exact same thing.
And I thought I went down and I went to reach the ball. I don't think I did anything crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Kind of sucks to me.
At that point, like, once he already called it, like, there's just no point of even arguing anymore.
Yeah, we don't got VAR up in New Jersey Rugby.
And Greg, you were captain for the day?
Yeah.
He was captain for most of the games.
Yeah, so I'm saying you want to tell people who are watching at home, I mean, you're really the only one who's supposed to be talking to the referee anyway.
Yeah, I mean, this ref I liked more than almost any ref we've had all year. He did a great job explaining things and, just slowing things down if I had an issue with something. But right there, I was talking to him about how that try should have been awarded because it was almost the exact same thing as the first try Delby scored. But at the point where he already has his hand up for them and they're lining up, there's no point.
Are we losing right now?
We are. Hopefully you get a make-up call, because you did get to him and you talked to him and you were a gentleman. But that's a big thing I do like about rugby, honestly, and coaching rugby is these refs are no nonsense. We're going to get called later for talking back an extra penalty, as well. So I like that aspect of the game is one person supposed to talk to the referee. I'm not even supposed to be talking to the referee. So
actually, one thing I do remember is the ref kind of got mad at Del Barton because I don't know if the Forwards remember, but their lock. One of their locks was just nonstop ripping on the ref. The ref just had enough.
Yeah, and again, in high-tension games, we're all susceptible to that. Now, my point earlier about pressure, having possession of the ball is not enough. It's the quick ball from the rucks that applies the pressure, and this is where we start to do that. We start to move quicker off the ruck. We stop dilly-dallying. We're picking, we're going, and we're in.
I think this next one
even right here, the ball's kind of slow, but he still got it.
All right, Jared gets in there. He squeaks in there. And that's another one, back to your body position point that we made earlier. Jared had a tendency all year to stand up relatively straight. If you look at that, he gets hit well before the try line. But because he's lower and he keeps his legs moving and you guys are in there in support, he gets that second push and he's in. So absolutely correct. You can see the wind's in our favor at this point now, but I don't think it matters. I think this one's going to go wide again.
Right now it's tied at 12, right?
Yeah, after this kick.
We only got one more try, right?
Yeah.
You would know you scored it.
It was fairly late in the game, wasn't it?
I'm just building myself up, kid.
It was. Mr. Brunel, were you at this game?
Yeah, you'll see me hanging out. I was under the tent for a little bit. I was down the sideline.
I know Mr. Rizzo was there, and I thought you were there. You were probably filming.
Wasn't Max going on at the same time?
Yeah, well, we finished lacrosse at Del Barton and then drove to this game. So we pulled up right as it was kicking off.
Yeah. Now, I think this young man here at the bottom of the screen might be slightly offsides. You got to be behind the kicker.
For sure.
Slightly.
Pretty close there.
Pretty blatant.
But you do want to get a running start there. So I give him some credit. He worked that, didn't get the call, so that's fine. But for people watching at home, they may not realize that got to be behind the kicker.
That right there was just a misjudging the air by the two people. Nobody really called it, and it just rolled out of bounds.
Well, what's the classic thing that people call, right?
And it doesn't help.
Doesn't help. We got to get in the habit of calling your name.
Thrown in by number 2, Zach Rosen.
Now take a look too where that line out was to where they end up getting. They maybe get back to the gain line or a little further, but not much. You guys pretty much hold them here.
Right after our scoring, that was our first substitution. Todd just came in.
Okay.
It's a good pressure play.
All right, so if that ball gets knocked backwards, it's no big deal. Now this one was he calls a knock on. I think Sabelli trying to fish that ball out gets knocked.
And I think we're arguing here. The reason why our guys are arguing is the way that we got the ball was it came off of the one of the players who got ball, and that's why Clay was arguing for that right there.
Mm-hmm.
It really felt like it was nonstop scrumming this whole game.
Look at you guys here. Wow.
Well, their locks are so high. Their hips are above their head. It's just ridiculous.
We get tackled 10 yards behind the line. Good defense by us.
Yeah.
It's a knockout. And it'll be a
Might be a change here coming in that front row.
I think the Muffin Man's coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what happens here is who comes off? Is it Justin or Johnny?
John.
Yeah, Johnny comes off, and then what you'll see is, Greg, you moved over to, were you tight head or loose head?
I moved to loose head.
Moved to loose head, and then George Genzel came in to hook. And
Yeah,
George
came on out of nowhere that year.
Yeah, George is a silent assassin, man. Very quiet, doesn't say too much, lets his playing do the talking.
I know he had a really nice run this game.
Yes, he did.
Showed off his speed.
And he caught a couple good tackles here. So, I mean, when you can make – it makes it easy for me when you've got a bench that's deep with quality players and you've got guys who can play multiple positions, we're spoiled. So
you can't make fat gingers mad.
I think I clicked here because I didn't see anyone back covering Reaper.
No, it's not a bad look if I remember here. Yeah, nobody
I know
there.
me and Danny talked a lot about.
Danny went right past him, Danny.
Yeah. I was going too fast.
Good idea, but you went right past him. But pinning them deep's a great idea. They kick back, and Mario fields this pretty well, I think.
Yeah, he has a good run up the side.
Yeah, he's a sideways runner, which I don't love, but
tremendous hit. Martini again.
good line. Guys are there for the ruck.
Yeah, they really love to blitz up on Danny called B, so they would just leave Danny a gap. I remember that from the first game. Because they'd hear Danny call B, and they just send one of their flankers shooting up to fill in the gap between our pod.
Moving a little quicker here off these rucks.
Yeah, I remember right there I was trying to call for the offload for Schwab, but I went on the other side of him. He offloaded it. That's what we were.
Yeah.
If there's one thing I don't miss about this year is definitely lining up Schwab and the refs or scrums.
Why?
Very sweaty.
Sweaty.
Sweatiest man alive.
Oh, yeah.
And right here is when he calls us to talk. And
Yeah.
loose, number 1.
Number one, I think, it was number one who was talking a little too much, which is an extra 10.
Wait, they got called for talking?
No, we did. We did. So here,
must have been Sabelli running his mouth.
No. Like kicking the touch here, you want to have those wingers and the fullback maybe too, just keeping an eye on making sure that ball does go out because there's some times when it doesn't. But with this kid from Del Barton, he's normally pretty on the money. That flag, you see it just going back and forth from the touch judge.
This touch judge, he got a whole earful from my dad and Mr. Lawson the whole game. I know that.
Nice guy. He's a very good referee. He's from South Africa, I think.
Oh, that's my favorite ref in all of New Jersey.
Yeah, he's excellent.
His first time refing, I remember, was up at Del Barton for sophomore year. I remember he came up with that and talked to us about that.
Yeah. Now we'll knock on there. A little bobble from Del Barton results in a turnover.
I think you called him here for talking too.
Right here is when they get their talk.
Yeah, it's that Waku just did not shut his mouth.
Yeah, so you get that, and then instead of the scrum, right, we get the penalty because they continue to talk. So we'll take it. I mean, it's not what we expected. We would have taken the set piece too, but we'll take the set piece instead.
Right here was when I was supposed to go on, but the ref didn't see the touch judge on the far side calling for itself. But after the fact, I'm kind of happy. You'll see coming up right here is when we score our try.
Yeah, I think coming up right after this is when I got kicked in the face and when I broke my nose. Still broken.
I think you look better. Good line break right there. Good taking the ball at pace. Good offload. Little high there with that pass, but we settled it down.
There it is.
And right here, the ref's trying to talk to them to help them get out of the penalty, but their tight head couldn't get out of the way. He just told them not releasing.
This was one of the few times we did the quick tap.
I think right there I'm screaming at Giovanni to go that.
Yeah, we go right to the side. And when you have a prop offload to an 8-man for a score on a quick tap, you know you're doing all right.
They all bid him.
Yeah,
They all bid him. Which helped out a lot.
yeah. When I got that ball, I was just so angry from not scoring earlier. I kind of knew that I was scoring before I got the ball.
It was like the same spot, Whiteman, right?
Yeah, pretty much. As soon as I got the ball, I'm like, this. Before I got it, I knew I was going to score because they really had nobody on that side.
Tough angle here from Mario. He's going to go wide on this again.
It looked pretty good. Everybody was cheering on the.
It did look good from our angle. It does.
This really stressed me out the whole rest of the game because I knew if they scored a try, we're going is it going to come down to a last kick where they just upset us off that.
I had a good talk with Connor right before I went over the field. He just said the main thing right here is ball possession. It doesn't matter where we are. We just want to hold on to the ball.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch the rest of the game, they don't really get within our 20-yard line for the rest of the game after this, I don't think. Towards the end, they get
Towards
close.
the end, they were pretty close, yeah.
But I don't even think they were within 10 yards of our try line.
Yeah.
Now, Holman, you're in at this point.
Yeah.
You came in. Now, you had not played this position much at all during the course of the year, right?
Nah, he was just getting ready to bash some bodies.
This was my first time playing prop all year. I played a little bit the year prior when cards came out. But
You're playing prop now, though, for St. Joe, right?
yes.
Yeah.
I head prop now.
But home is all we needed at this point in the game because we needed a ball carrier that we could trust to hold the ball and take it in contact.
And Holman knows the game too. Like that's the other thing that's an advantage of having Holman out there on the field is he's another good rugby IQ.
Yeah, there was a few times in here I was a little confused because we had some backs just run it right into contact and I was freaking out. but in the end, it worked out not too bad.
Yeah, at this point in the game, after we scored that try, there was like 10 minutes left, and I remember calling static, which
There was no structure at all.
yeah, I remember calling static, which means just hold on to the ball, no stupid passes, and just keep everything tight. And
I think
we tried to do that at least.
that's the George Kensel. Nah,
Yeah, this is George right here.
that's the
Gensel.
Yeah, that's George Kensel freight train running down the sideline.
Yeah, he had it looked like he could have been a high tackle there. But
Right here, me and Charlie on the wing were all just yelling for the ball, yelling for him to get out there. We had numbers, me, Sal.
Yeah, that was my bad.
we're knocking on the door here again, and we turn it over.
We lose it on the ground, which I kind of thought was playing with them playing the ball on the ground because Danny went in for the tackle, and then they started pulling on it after.
I think at this point we kind of knew that we weren't going to let them score, especially towards like the end of the game. I think we had a good mindset on defense.
Don't know the position or anything, but this was something I was taught by a forwards coach up at Morris. Was as a front rower, you get to reset the scrum once every single time. So I was thinking in my head, bring it up every time and cause 30 more seconds to come off the clock.
Yeah, it's a good way to milk it.
Yeah, we pushed them back every single time.
Yeah. And again, he's looking to get out of trouble here with this kick.
Which was one heck of a kick.
Yeah.
The stadium bounds.
This is one I watched it coming back and I saw.
Dangerous here. Mario kicks this back, and this kid fields it really well.
Yeah, it was a really returnable kick.
Yep. You guys get back and you get your shape, though.
I think Greg right here gets a really
they were
huge tackle.
Del Barton was smelling blood right here, I think.
Huge tackle. Chango doesn't make that tackle right there. We're in some trouble. Great tackle there. Great, great poach attempt there by Greg.
I'm sure a few minutes from now is going to start the most near I've been to a heart attack in my life. When the ref gives them the ball back about 10 times.
Yeah.
I'm not sure when that
starts. We're playing
starts.
for an extra 5 minutes after the clock ran out.
I've never played that much extra rugby past time running out in my life. Every time you thought you won the game, you get ready to celebrate, and then you hear a whistle and get brought back on a penalty.
We made some don't-heavy penalties at the end too, which helped Del Barton have a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some sideways run here. Just trying to keep ball, like you said, just keep in possession, trying not to turn it over.
Here I was calling everything tight. I didn't want to force any bad passes. So.
It might have been a semi-penalty from Del Barton. Yeah, but Delby had really good line shape right here, so.
Oh, yeah. Plus, we're taking our time now at this point, too, so they have time.
Del Barton definitely had the momentum right now.
Yeah, we couldn't get out of our own half.
Yeah.
A lot of nerves build up here is when we start to get some knock-on penalties, knock-ons in the breakdown and in the rush.
Yeah, but for all the nerves we had, I still think we did show that we had some experience by still kind of staying together on defense. I think our individual abilities really shine in this part of the game.
That was huge from Lawson.
Great work there.
Another knock on it. It's going to be another scrub down to Del Barton.
A little scrappy on the ground.
What'd they call that?
Sal couldn't pick it up off the ground and went through it off the head. It was just a loose ball. He can't judge it that well.
So we're going to have a reset on the scrum. We're under 3 minutes here left for a 5-point rugby match.
Yeah, this is the one where we just completely flipped that scrum over.
Yeah, they go weak side on that attack. George.
Right here, forward tackle, 10-5 meters, and come back to be a high dangerous tackle. Charlie does a great job to get the guy.
Charlie there. Yep.
He comes back.
Yeah, I thought it was a line out there for sure, but then he brings it back to the penalty. Ends up at pretty much the same spot anyway.
Yeah, I'm guessing this is the part of the game where I think we had a penalty every 30 seconds. There's got to be only like a minute left at this point.
147.
Yeah, right after this, maybe you see it's 145 left on the clock.
With a green wave line out. Just under a minute, 30.
There's Mr. Lawson and Mr. Giangiulio down at the bottom of the screen. There's Mr. Whiteman, our faithful photographers and motivational speakers.
Yeah, it was really big getting the ball back right there.
It was a good run by George up the middle. Had Sal support with him.
I just love looking at the Del Barton sideline and just seeing those kids like nervous wrecks.
Holman, what was the sideline like before you came in?
I gotta tell you, it was the most nervous that I've been a part of the sideline. I haven't been on the sideline for 2 years, but you could tell that there were a lot of nerves coming from kids that kind of walked in here thinking that this was going to be another one of those steamrollers with Del Barton, and they didn't back down. I'll give them credit for it.
Yeah, and it blows my mind too because I have a longer memory than you guys, and I remember when they were smacking us all over the park for years. So I have that, and I forget sometimes we've been blessed to have some pretty good squads, but this was Del Barton of old. This was really, really tough, hard-nosed rugby. Came to play, no nonsense, right to the line.
And Whiteman didn't get that try when he called it over. All I could think back to was
right here. I think. But, am I right here? I think the buzzer has just gone off, or it's just about to go. So this game is over on the clock, and now we're just playing on time on the field, and a dead ball will do it, and we're done.
I think our defense really started dominating right here, though.
We understood that we needed one more play to make this game over. We got it, but you saw Giovanni couldn't really handle the ball out of the rough.
I think I was about to kill Subelli at that point.
I still say that was a little questionable, but I understand why he called it in the big game. He's wants to be sure it's fair, but that was awfully close to call.
Right there, a bunch of our guys started talking, and I remember just turning around and just shut up, just don't say anything.
Got the Greg G and Julia, shut up.
This is great here because this ball comes back here. It's just Lawson again. Really nice pushing the guys back.
We get ball here again.
in front of
Right.
Yeah.
offsides penalty, which you don't see a whole lot in rugby, but it's not going
We
to go.
thought it was over again, and it wasn't.
This is kind of when I knew I had to end the game.
Somebody
Because
had it.
I knew somebody just had to step up and make a play to end the game at this point, or else they're just going to hold the ball for as long as possible.
All right, they're kicking the touch, and
If I remember correctly, this is their last line out,
Yeah, it's just lost.
this should be it. Yeah,
and their nine probably made the biggest bonehead decision I've seen in rugby.
Because
he just
time play to go up the middle.
He goes up the middle, yeah.
So he goes with no support,
Why you
and I just have no idea why, and I was able to just get in there and push the ball.
And he's able to kick it out.
I was able to let Danny get the credit.
number 2 just falls and collapses on the floor.
Yeah, but that was probably the best. That was probably the best
backflip.
feeling I've experienced in my life. Just the ref finally blowing the whistle, because you thought the game was going to end so many times, and then it finally does end.
Do you guys have any final thoughts on the game?
It's the best feeling I've ever had in my life up to this point, winning that game.
Yeah, I mean, this game meant so much just because of everything we went through this entire season. You know, it never seemed like something just stayed the same. I felt like once we got into a rhythm, something happened, whether it was an injury or anything like that. So there was just so much adversity this season, and just winning this game meant so much.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. We were definitely not as good as we were, like, midway through the season, just because so much has happened to us come this game. But we were still able to kind of stick together and pull a really tough game out.
I remember when I kicked that ball out, it just felt like a huge weight off my shoulders. Well, I didn't want to be the team to lose the streak. So
yeah, you got to think about rugby too. Rugby, we're not for me, but rugby's a lot of practice from January 1st on. So that's like a whole 2 months more than any spring sport. So you're just out there nonstop, just practicing in the worst weather possible. I know last year you guys were on the tennis court. So, like, you go from being in sub-freezing temperatures to, like, that Memorial Day weekend when it's 80 degrees. And, like, when you're done that game, you realize, like, all your hard work has finally paid off. So it's just the best feeling you get.
Yeah, coming from me, I didn't really know if I was going to play in this game or not. I had a week there where I called the doctor every single day to try to get him to let me play. And the Thursday before that game, I remember getting a phone call. He finally let me play. It was just something that I felt was important because I understood how tight that game was the first time around, and I thought it was going to be another tight game going into it. And it was just an important win for us, and I felt like everybody contributed to it, not just one person had a standout game. I thought a ton of kids did.
Yeah, Homan got the doctor note, the equivalent of writing on a piece of paper with a Sharpie saying, "I can play." He went to the inner city to get his doctor note.
It looked good to us. I know from a coach's perspective, you know, rugby is different than a lot of other sports, I guess. Like, we don't really do too much. Once the game's on, it's on your shoulders. So watching this and seeing you guys being able to overcome obstacles, to make adjustments, to deviate from a plan if it wasn't working, and make an audible, that's the goal. Like, Coach Conover, myself, and Coach Howells really do believe that by the end of the season, we should be redundant. We're there, sure. We're there all season. We're there with you for every practice and every game day. But by this point, we should be redundant. You have to take ownership of this, and you guys did. Of all the teams that I've seen, the cohesion, the togetherness of this group will go definitely down in my memory. as being one of the best, if not the best. You all gelled so well together, and even the guys who had to come in for those injured players, you came in off the bench and were ready to go. So it's a testament to you guys and to the program that we have in place. But thank you, Mr. Bermel, for putting this together with athletics. I think this is going to be a great series. I'm looking forward to watching the other sports as well. And for anybody who is watching this, you think rugby might be interesting, give us a shout. 2 seasons, fall and spring. So, we've got plenty of opportunity for you to get some experience. But I guess I'll leave it there. Anything else, Mr. Bermel?
No, thank you guys for doing this. Thank you, Coach Tao, for spending an hour and a half out of your day. And we'll see everybody next time on the next Hermits Rewind.